Good morning and welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. I'm Brendan Rendo with the Homes Orlando team and joined by Joseph Dion of Apley Home Loans. Good morning, sir.
Good
Hope you're doing
morning.
well.
Bring some energy. Let's have some fun today. That's all we can do.
Yeah, well, I think we can actually bring some good news in one portion. So,
We could.
and that's looking at rates and the trend line. Where rates are kind of headed right now. But then we're going to see a little contradiction with home sellers, what they're feeling right now, what they're searching out. Then of course we're going to go through the Orlando numbers and talk about those as well. But right now, I think the big thing is talking about where rates are, because we kind of broke through a wall a little bit.
A little bit, kind of briefly,
Yep. Yep.
but you gotta get to that wall and you gotta touch it a little bit and figure out there. I feel like the market's sizing it up, but on conventional, we saw that national average, that news kind of hit that we felt just below 6%.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
today we're back over 6%, but we're at 6.01%.
Which is
So
nice. I mean, it's we when you look back, we've gone in the past 6 months from we were just above 7, if I remember correctly, in
I think
July,
we got
August.
pretty darn close to that. So to see the market move to where we are, but we did notice that we also saw that spread, right?
Hmm.
Kind of get a little bit bigger too, because I think there's some uncertainty between like the 10-year. And so we've got great news, but I think we've got a little bit of uncertainty on the markets, being the market makers or the rate,
Hmm.
the lenders putting those rate sheets out there, to where they're being a little bit more conservative, even though we're seeing all the data head in the right direction. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
is this a fake out? And I think that's what they're waiting. They're waiting to be like, is this a fake out? Are we going to break through? Or do we need to stay a little bit more conservative?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, when we look at the 10-year this morning and over the past 5 days, you see we've done a consistent decrease. A couple
Mm-hmm.
weeks ago, we were sitting, 4.25, 4.27. So we've lost 2/10 in the 10-year T, but
Mm-hmm.
we haven't seen that corresponding, 2/10 of a decrease in the mortgage rate, which is what we were talking about. Is we had dropped about a 1.8 margin, but we're kind of back up to around that 1.9, 1.2. So they've widened it just a little
Just
bit.
a little bit. So, and the hard part is when you see that, when you're a consumer or you're like the data doesn't always make sense, right? Like, because you sit there and go, well, I see everybody's seeing, and you see the headlines. Like even this morning, the headlines was like lowest. The 10-year was at the lowest and since November 28th of last year, which is
Hmm.
great news for us. But it's like, well, it's just a fraction of a second it hit that, and then
Yeah.
it bounced right off. And the headline is created, but then nothing else kind of follows up behind it. And it's, for a consumer, you go, but I saw this. And that's where you got to dive into those numbers a little bit more, because it's not just the headline that's moving rates.
Yep. Yep. I mean, the economic news we had this morning is, we had the unemployment numbers come out, and really we're pretty much sitting at full employment. Here we are, seeing at 4.3. So we've seen since November where we took a little spike.
Yep.
We've had, slowly 1/10 of a point decrease, you know, per month. So employment's good overall. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they are saying, it's, people who are unemployed are spending a little longer time, looking for and finding jobs. But there's still some still job availability out there. As far as rate wage increases, we are seeing a slow and steady increase in wages as well. So that overall makes me feel better. It feels. I'm hoping we've kind of hit that bottom, and that with the rates coming, where they are, that 6%. it seems like over the past week or so since we've kind of hit that I've actually picked up definitely in web site visits have increased. Um, I've actually, we got a house under contract this morning. They're locked in and stuff, but it just seems like we're getting people are warming up. Maybe it is that spring fever is starting to hit, but when you look at when we go into the numbers a little bit, we're still seeing some people hesitant on actually making that jump. So very interesting number came out yesterday. And I don't know if you had a chance to see this or saw the headline on this, but for Google right now, there is a record high search for can't sell house.
Well, that doesn't sound good. I mean, I know we've got more sellers than buy. It's at the highest number I think ever right now, right?
Yeah, Redfin has it that there's 44% more sellers than there are buyers right now.
Okay.
That is a big margin. That is a very big margin. And when you look at it, and you look at the numbers that we go through every week, I think part of it is just that mentality of a lot of sellers in that they're still expecting, you say it again and again, that 2022, 2023 pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not there. I looked at a house in Maitland this week for a client, and current list price is $510,000.
Okay.
Went back through the entire MLS, and it's actually been on the market for over a year. They started it at $645,000.
Ouch.
I mean, that is an absolute huge price decrease.
Mm-hmm.
But you've seen it, and I think as we looked at the numbers on a weekly basis, one thing that we looked graphically with the Orlando regional numbers was also the number of withdrawals.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of put that into this number with can't sell house. Is you look at all these people who have withdrawn their properties because they've got certain numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it could also be that you've got these homeowners who did buy in the 2022, 2023 time frame, and with prices currently, they're upside down. When you look at it, they're actually upside down, and they're going to have to come to the table to actually sell their house, which is scary.
It's tough
to them. When we look at some of the numbers from the fourth quarter last year, this is home price changes by state that came out yesterday. And down here in Florida, we're sitting at actually a 2.7% price decrease. So we have been losing, and Orlando, I think we're probably right around 5% over the past year when you look at the overall prices. So there has been lost in home value from the peak. So is that part of the why you can't sell your house is because you're going to lose money? You may actually have to do a short sale. Is it because you've set your price, outside where the current comparable sales are? Or quite honestly, do you have a bad agent? Do you have an agent that's only putting on the MLS and that's it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got less buyers out there, the marketing you have to do is very intensive. It's not just put it on the MLS, let it, syndicate out to Zillow, Realtor.com, and all these others. You've got to get out there and actually market these houses to people.
Yeah.
So there's a number of factors that can really affect how this overall market is going right now. Which one it is, I think that's on an individual house by house basis.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, and you look at it, and the conversations that I'm having with clients, and they're getting excited. They're like, okay, rates are going down. I talked to them about where their payment's going to be on, in general terms, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. They're re-entering, but then they start looking, and I kind of feel like, okay, well, what are we looking at? And I've noticed that we still have a little bit of the fatigue, like you mentioned, of like, what am I getting for this money? And then it's the holy cow, like I got to spend XYZ, or it's going to need this, or it's going to need that. And you see, and this is maybe like that ancillary of like, because everything has gone up in price and cost of goods and services have gone up and so forth, that it's not just the price of the home that matters anymore. They're thinking,
oh, Joe? Oh, you froze. Come back to us, Joe. Oh, we lost Joe here for a minute. Oh, wait, there he's back. Hold on. You're back. I lost you there.
Unbelievable. I don't know what's going on here.
Try it again. So you're at the point where they're looking at the cost of not just the purchase, but everything else.
Yeah. And in conversations that I'm having with clients are, oh, well, it needs to do a new bathroom needs to, and where, cost wise, you used to be like, okay, well, maybe for 5,000, I can refresh this. Now people are thinking it's going to be 15, 20,000 because of increase in goods and services. And so I think people are wanting a finished product a lot more than what they maybe were willing to be like, all right, well, we'll fix this up ourselves, because I think a lot of clients, at least what I'm experiencing, they don't believe that they're going to be able to save the additional funds to be able to do some of these renovations themselves.
And I got to agree with you there, because I know with a lot of the buyers I'm talking to, they want move-in ready. They don't want to have to do anything to the house. And that's kind of their feeling, is that, hey, if I'm going to spend, $650,000-$700,000 on a house, why should I have to replace the kitchen cabinets? Why should I have to replace the countertops? Why are the rugs in such bad shape? Why am I going to have to spend $3,000 or $4,000, doing work on the floor? There's a lot of that. And for instance, the one we were able to get under contract today had a 17-year-old roof. And when we originally put in the offer on it, put it right up front that, hey, the roof has to be replaced, or we asked them to escrow the funds for the roof, and we'd put it on. Usually with the insurance companies, you can get 30 days to get it put on. And the seller initially balked at it. And we're like, well, we appreciate it, but no, without a new roof, the insurance, yeah, maybe by chance we could get insurance for a year, but I know exactly what's going to happen. The insurance company is going to bang us next year, and we're going to have to put a new roof on.
Yep.
So now I would be putting the burden of that $14,500 onto my client, which is not the right thing to do. So we politely said we appreciate it. The other items that we negotiated we're fine with, but without the new roof, we can't move forward. The agent actually reached out to me, asked me for who my roofer was. I provided it to her, and he actually provided the quote. And we came back. She talked to the owner, and we were able to negotiate that. Yeah, he will replace the roof before closing, and we kept the other terms.
Yep.
So, it's one of those is you like you said, you got to look at that value for your client and what they're looking at as far as value. And just not being afraid to walk away from the deal. It's amazing when sometimes when you're not afraid to walk away from the deal and you stand steady because it is in the best interest of your client.
Yep.
You know, we had to have a new roof. There, you know, with insurance today in Florida, there was nothing else we could do. We had to have a new roof. You know, very politely, very, you know, professional back and forth, understanding why, and we're able to come to an agreement on it, which is, you know, fantastic for everybody all the way around. So, but that's where I know exactly what you mean after going out and looking at several houses for different clients in the past month and a half, when you're looking at the price and what you have to do with the houses. It's disappointing. It's disappointing that more people don't realize that, you know, we're gonna pick these houses apart. You know, we're gonna say, hey, you know, no thank you, and then they wonder why people don't want to buy their house. So moving on from that, let's get into our Orlando numbers this week. And, you know, a little bit better. Nothing still, we're still kind of frozen below 400 sales per week. You know, 350 this week. You know, our average price, you know, sitting at that 425. So we're back above the 400, which is kind of nice. Inventory didn't take a big jump this week.
Okay.
Which could have been because of the cold. You know, it got below 40, and us Floridians, we're not going out.
Might as well be blizzard weather.
I know. Yeah. Condos, you know, just sitting there at that 95, you know, again, not a big increase there either in inventory. So, and then we look at our months of supply, you know, still sitting very high, you know, 5.5 months of supply, 8,300 active listings. You know, again, with the higher end, we're pushing higher on the months of inventory. You know, between 500 and 1 million, you're sitting at almost 7. Then over 1 million, you're sitting at 9 months worth of inventory right now. Now this is interesting because I was doing a thing for a custom builder, and in Winter Park, there were 129 homes demolished last year.
Okay.
129. Yeah. And the average rebuild on them is anywhere from $1.5 to $3 million. That's like this little oasis, you know, out there. It's just really interesting. Our original list to sales price percentage, we actually have gone up a little bit, about 1% to 93.75. Average days on market's holding pretty steady, 73. And you just see graphically that, you know, we have not, our period average of 344, that is just, it's too low for Orlando. It's a low number for the number of houses and the number of people that we have that we have here. I mean, if you're taking in Lake, Orange, Osceola, Seminole County, those 4 counties, just seems like a very low number of sales on a consistent basis. I would love to see that jump to 500. Would I love to see that jump to 500? You know, and then inventory, see, again, slow and steady back up. You know, withdrawals, you know, when we look at, you know, can't sell house, you know, we're averaging about 200 per week of homes being withdrawn from the market. That's
a big number.
That's a big number. So I understand when people are doing that search of can't sell home, you know, looking for ways to sell the houses. But what's interesting is they're not, you know, the iBuyers that were the big fad, you know, for several years. People are not going to these iBuyers to buy their houses anymore. That number has dropped off. I don't know if you saw Open Doors losses this past. You know, I think if they make it another year, I'd be really surprised, because I've sent out a couple of properties just to see what they would come back at, and my wholesalers give better prices than what than what Open Door and OfferPad, some of these national companies are offering these days.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the day of the iBuyer is going to be pretty well gone. When we get into our condos, I mean, there you are, flat out 10 months worth of inventory, across the entire condo market. And our original list to sales price, we're still sitting at 90%. So there's some deals. I've actually seen a couple 1-1 condominiums here locally that have dropped to $125 or $125,000 on the list price.
Okay.
Where last year they were 200.
Oof.
And that's just kind of brutal. And
yeah,
they're still not getting any action on them. And it's just like, man, what do you do with that when you've got a $900 HOA?
mm-hmm.
how low of a price do you have to go to get this thing sold? I was thinking about it the other day, because you and I were talking. I had someone call me who wanted to do an FHA condo. And you and I just talked about the difficulties that presents. One, you were kind enough to send me the HUD link, and there are actually no condos currently approved in Seminole County for HUD. None.
But then you can do a spot approval still. But
yeah, then you're like, well, that's 90 to 120 days to do a spot approval for FHA for a condo. And I mean, I know the market's, but is a seller going to be willing to wait that 90 to 120 days for a maybe?
Yeah.
What is it? A 50-50 chance?
I mean, I'd say there might be people that are better suited to answer that question. As a company, we've probably only seen in the last year maybe 10 people attempt a spot approval, and I think maybe 6 got approved. So yeah,
Jeez.
It's about 50-50.
Yeah.
It's wanting all the data, and it's just submitting the data, and
mm-hmm.
Some of them we see it up front of like, yeah, we know this isn't going to get approved, like,
yep.
But we'll still submit it because that's what they want.
Yep.
But it's but I think that's the hard part is when you look at it, that spot approval for FHA is very difficult to get some.
Yeah. So, and they're talking, all these incentives, Trump keeps touting his, executive order, which doesn't mean much at all. And it's like, okay, why you want to come up with something? Why don't you look at the way you're doing the FHA approvals for condominiums and see if we can't make some changes to that to open that market up to people? Because right now, a lot of these places, it seems like, there's no opportunities for these people. You've kind of taken that whole condo market right out of the game for a lot of these people. And I think if we could open some of that back up to FHA, one, it'd be great for the owners to have that opportunity to have another form of financing for the owners. I think would be great. Two, I think it would help stabilize their prices a little bit, by allowing more buyers into the market. So I think that's it. If I had one suggestion to Pulte and to Trump, is let's stop for a second and let's take a look at how we're doing condos and how we're doing FHA approvals for these condos, because the condominiums have to pay to have all the stuff done, and they just looked at it and cost-wise just not effective for them.
Yeah, and on the FHA side, it's pricey. They get it right when those communities are new, but the cost to maintain it is
expensive. So I mean, there's my 2 cents, and my suggestion for them is, let's find a way to maybe open up these condos to people, and
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would help. That would help a lot of people, as far as ownership goes.
Yeah.
Some people want a condo. Some people don't want to take care of the lawn. They don't want to take care of it
Yeah.
all for me. I don't mind paying the fee as long as I don't have to do it. So
exactly, just it gets a little bit more, makes it a little bit easier.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today at the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. Please like, subscribe, and join us every Thursday here. And take care and have a blessed week. Bye-bye.